So how do you build your deck? When you're building a deck, if you want to build a deck, or if you've already built a deck, how do you do it? You want to make sure you build your deck properly. You've got people standing on it. You want to make sure they're not going to go through the floor. So my deck, for instance, I try to use some common sense to make sure it's done right. There's so many people that build decks in their backyard. Some places you have to get permits. Some places you don't. Some places where you're supposed to get permits, people just go and build them anyways without a permit. I live in an unorganized township, so I can pretty much do what I want. They recommend that you still build to code, or they tell you you still build to code. But up here in northern Ontario, people just build all kinds of stuff. Sometimes I go down the road, I see a house that's actually leaning, it's on an angle, the whole house, because the foundation is not done properly or whatever, it's old. A lot of shacks in this part of Ontario. And the further north you go, probably the worse it is as far as having buildings in disrepair. I know with a deck, I was looking up the code. They recommend that you have 2x8s or 2x10s, and a lot of that has to depend on the span, how much span you've got, because the more span you've got, of course, the heavier wood you have to put on so that your deck doesn't do this bouncing thing. I've gone with 2x6s. Reason I went with 2x6s is it's a little cheaper, but what I do is I put a lot of extra support under the deck, and I use a lot more screws. I've been using I think 3.5-inch screws I'm using to put my floor joists on. And I believe that my deck is solid. I've built lots of decks over the years, and some of them have been in areas where I probably should have got permits, but I didn't. But every deck I've ever built, they always still seem to stay square. They stay level. I don't have a bounce on them when you're walking across them. So I think my decks are built really well. So in this video, I'm going to show you where I'm at so far on my deck. I'm not going to finish it for a little while, and I was planning on not even doing the deck till next year. But when you're building a deck, or when you want to build a deck, all of a sudden now you say to yourself, I've got all this extra outdoor living space. So you sort of get anxious. And I know I was looking out the patio doors a couple of days ago, and I thought to myself, if I was to build a deck now instead of waiting till next year, I got so many projects on the go, but if I was to escalate my deck building project and I was to do it this year, then now I've got a nice level spot to put a table. I did have the table under the overhang on uneven ground, and you can't sit at an uneven table. It's just not practical. Nothing sits straight. The ground is sort of doing one of these things. But when you build a deck, now you've got a level platform. There's nothing better than walking out those patio doors in your bare feet to a level platform, sitting at a table, and just looking out over the lake. So I've decided I'm going to build my deck now. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you what I've done, show you where I'm at so far right now. And it's been a while since I've done a video. It's been, well, probably 3 or 4 days. So I'm going to just show you what I've done so far and let you take a look at it. And I'm going to explain to you why I've done certain things the way I've done them. So watch along, and maybe there's something there that you'll look at and you'll say, that's a great idea. I never thought of that. Or maybe you'll say, I've done lots of decks before. That's nothing, and move on. So I don't know. But anyways, so follow along and let's take a look, see what I've done. Okay, so let's go take a look at this. Basically, 16-inch centers. you have to do at least 16-inch centers. You can't go wider than that because, of course, for code, you want a 16-inch center. Now, let's take a look at this wall. If you look at this wall, this deck should all be built out of pressure-treated wood. But if you look along the wall, you see it's not built out of pressure-treated wood. And the reason for that was because I ran out of wood. And so this 2x6, the whole length, and this 2x6, and one of those in my support is not pressure-treated wood. But I'm not terribly concerned because I'm against the house and I'm out of the weather. So you should have pressure-treated wood. Now, if you look at my supports, I suppose the top of this should be painted, but again, I'm out of the weather, so I'm not terribly concerned about it. Now, for my support, what I've chose to do, some of these aren't fastened down yet. What I've chose to do is to put cottage blocks underneath, and then run a 4x4 up through. And the reason I decided to do that because I don't like patio stones, and I could have used those other blocks that your posts go in. But the thing I like about a cottage block is that it takes up a lot larger footprint. So I do like it. So that's why I've chose to do that. Now, if you look across here, you'll see a cut in the wood right there. And I've got a 4x4 in the middle of that. The reason I did that is because my truck had a whole bunch of junk in it. And so I just bought 2x6x8. And I should have bought 2x6x16. Instead, like I say, I just got the 8-footers. So I had to join them in the middle. Another thing I did is over here, I wrapped this post with just some scrap 2x6s. And the reason I did that is because once I put my deck boards on, if you have a deck board and you have it running across here like so, when it gets this post, it needs some support underneath it. A lot of times I've just got my deck board and just air nailed a few pieces on, but I figured I haven't got my wood yet, so I figured I'd just grab some scrap 2x6. Now the thing about scrap 2x6, which makes it nice, is that it makes it easier to butt this board up to it to give me my height for my boards that are sitting on top. Now, a lot of times they have hanger bearings or hangers for the walls, which they recommend that you put on. I chose not to use hangers. Instead, I decided to put support underneath. So I ran some 4x4s down the wall. I got one there, got one there, and a corner post. And then I got a 2x6 and screwed it up underneath, which gives me the exact height now to put my boards, my 2x6 joists in. So that's how I chose to do it. It's a little bit overkill maybe in the middle, but I've got a cottage block at the end, cottage block there, another cottage block there. So on a 14-foot deck, I've got 4 supports in the middle. So this deck's not going anywhere. Now, let's take a look at, I got a drain here. This drain is for my kitchen sink. I've cut into this 2x6, but then I've reinforced it. This 2x6 is fastened to that post. This 2x6 is fastened to that post. So I'm not concerned about the integrity of that. So I fastened my 2x6 up, my drain up to my 2x6. Goes across here. And again, I've cut into my 2x6 there, as well as on this side. And then I've reinforced it with a 2x4 on each side. And then I've fastened it up as well. Fastened it up with a slope. got fastened up on this side, goes across, fastened up there. They say that if you have a drain, you should have a 1/4 inch slope for every 10 feet. So what I've got here is it's butted against there, which is a 2x6. And over the other end, which is 10 feet away, I'm like 2.5 inches up. So I've got a 2.5 inch slope on a 10-foot run. And they say you need a 1/4 inch. So I've got lots of slope, lots and lots of slope. But I decided to have extra slope because when it goes out here, I don't really want it on top of the ground. It's going to go out there to you put a weeping bed out there. This is basically just sink water, so gray water they call it. So that's how I've done my deck. The one mistake I did make is that this brace, it goes across here, comes to the corner post. It should have come out underneath this 2x6, but instead I cut it off at the corner post. So that would have been support for this 2x6. But I didn't do it, so that's fine. It is what it is. Now, let's look at the ceiling for a minute. I was going to put a double 2x6 up here, but I've decided because I don't have a lot of slope, I can't have a lot of slope because the patio doors are right there. And if I would have too much slope, then I wouldn't be able to see the lake. So I decided to put a triple 2x6 out there. So I've got, this is a 10 foot out. This deck is 10 foot out. So I got a triple 2x6. But then just to make sure I've got some added protection because of weight, I've again got another triple 2x6 going down the middle. So this is a 2x6, it's 14.5 feet long. This is a 2x6, triple 2x6, it's 14.5 feet long. I've got one post halfway. I was going to put two, but I thought with two posts, I was concerned that I'd lose more view. So I believe that I've probably got sufficient for snow load. Now, because the deck roof isn't that high off the ground, it's easy to pull it off with my roof rake. So there's what we have. And take a look out here. This outside board, that's a pressure treated wood, which doesn't really matter because I'm going to build a little tiny, right at the top of this 4x4, I'm going to build a little wall across here just to make it look better. This is pressure treated, this 2x6, these 2x6s outside. So there you have it. Couple things. When you're building a deck, one of the most important and cheapest components you can buy are screws. Don't cheap out on the screws. Screws are what's going to keep this thing living for a long time. What I've done is I've gone probably to the extreme. I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I've got 17 screws. 3.5 inch screws in every one of these floor joists, which is way overkill, I'm sure. But it's not going anywhere. So the screws, like I say, are one of the most important elements to building a deck. The second element that's even more important is to make sure this thing's square or rectangle, whatever you're doing. These floor joists, every single floor joist is exactly the same measurement because this thing is totally square. Now, a mistake I did make, second mistake, is I wanted to make this deck 10 feet out. It's actually 10 foot, 1.5 inches, which meant that I either had to buy 10 foot 2x6s and add a piece to every one of them, or buy 12 foot 2x6s and waste almost 2 feet of 2x6. So I chose to go with the latter of it, the 2, and so I've got some waste there, but I'm sure I'll use it for something else. So like I say, make sure you figure out your measurement before you do your deck. Another thing that's really important if you're building a deck, I've got my drain for my sink. Comes out and it goes across here, and it's going to go out and it's going to go into a gray water system I'm going to build out there. But what you have to realize is, depending on where you're building your deck, the lower it is to the ground, the better chance you're not going to get underneath it. I'm not going to be able to get underneath this deck when it's done. This deck is less than 2 feet off the ground. I will not get underneath this deck, which means anything I do now needs to be done right, because if it's not done right, I can't fix it later unless I start ripping up deck boards. Over here, 1, 2, 3 floor joists. I haven't fastened them down yet. They're just sitting here. And the reason they're sitting here is because I'm going to run my wiring to my solar system through here, through PVC. And I'd rather have clear digging rather than standing between floor joists. So there you have it. That's my deck. I'm going to put some deck boards over top of it. When it comes to deck boards, I've seen so many times people get their deck boards and they nail them down. Oh, it looks so nice. But anytime you start getting water on it and you get age, then those nails start to pop up, and then you start catching them on your bare feet. That's not really nice. I always use screws, and I always use screws that will definitely get into the deck. So you want to use longer screws. I've seen a lot of people use 2 screws or 2 nails, and then what happens is your deck board will start bowing up because you only got 2 screws in it. I always put 3. If you put 3 screws in a deck board, then it won't be able to do this bowing thing. 3 screws will hold it a lot longer, and you'll never have problems with your deck boards. So use 3 screws, don't use 2. Don't use short screws, don't use nails. Like I said before, screws are one of your most important elements when you're building a deck. When you build this thing, you want to build it once. You don't want to have you tearing it all apart and starting over again. So that's my tip on building decks. I'm not a carpenter. I'm a professional handyman. And I've built a lot of decks over the years, and my decks do not move. Final tidbit. You're building a deck. You got your posts. You put your posts in. It's summertime. You're busy. You want to be going out and barbecuing and visiting people. Make sure you secure those corner posts, because they will twist. They will twist so fast. You can see this post here is already starting to twist. What I ended up having to do is I got a 2x6. This is a good tidbit for you. I got a 2x6, and I put it down here at the bottom of the post. And this 2x6 was like 2 feet long. I screwed it into the post. And then what happened is I got my wife, and she got that 2x6 and she pushed on it. And when she pushed on it, 2 feet at the end, and it was screwed into the post, I was able to get that post and start to turn it. Once I turned it, then I was able to screw this 2x6 in properly. So, yeah, these posts started to twist, but if you look, I've got them. I got them good now. So, yeah, get those corner posts. Get all those posts that you plan on having sticking up, and get them fastened. If you haven't got a roof and you've got a railing right here, excuse me, right here where your railing is, fasten that thing. Fasten that railing. Even if you don't get those spindles put in, get that 2x6 on top and fasten that railing, because if you don't fasten that railing, they start to twist. A month down the road when you go to do your deck, finish it, it's going to be awkward trying to straighten that out. In the event that does happen, and all you're doing is a railing, get a 2x4 or 2x6, screw it onto your railing, onto your 4x4, go down to the next post and push that towards that next post. And you can, a lot of times you can get that post and you start to turn it. And then you do your top 2x6 to finish your railing off. But like I say, once those posts start to twist, if you don't get to them right away, it's a lot harder to make your deck look nice. So there's my deck. It's nice and square. It's level. It's flat. And like I say, I'm not 100% sure on all the codes, but this deck is solid and it's not going to move. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 11 cottage blocks under a 10 by 14 and a half foot deck. So like I say, it's not going to move. Hopefully there's a couple of tidbits there that'll help you out. And subscribe to my channel. And keep watching. And I've got lots more videos to come. Have a great day.